So I'm delighted to welcome today Cesar Perez, who is an actor and author. And your book, Chase the Light, is a remarkable story about how you've recovered from an horrendous situation that happened to you. So welcome, Cesar.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to, share my story.
Marvelous. Okay. So we like to share inspirational stories, and your story certainly is inspirational. So take us back to January 2018. You were an actor. Tell us some of the acting roles that you've been involved with.
Yeah, so my career was only taking off. It was in an upward trajectory when my accident happened. And I had started opposite of Daniel Radcliffe and Beast of Burden. I had started in Blind Trust opposite of big Mexican actor Eugenio Cid. I had worked with Clint Eastwood on 1517 in Paris, and I had like several auditions pending coming into January 2018. But unfortunately, I never got to them. I never got to make it. And it's because on January 12th, 2018, I was driving down to go see a girlfriend at the time and my family. And a drunk driver driving westbound on eastbound lanes hit me head on. And then a semi truck hit me head on as well. So that's kind of where my life ended. And, a new life began, really.
Okay, so most people wouldn't have survived that accident at all, head on with two vehicles, one of them a huge big truck. So what happened? What were your injuries?
Yeah, and thankfully I was in the best physical shape of my life, and that kind of helped protect my internal organs. So I didn't have any injuries in that side, that aspect, like my lungs, my liver, and everything were okay. But I had every other injury you can imagine. My femur was protruding out of my left leg. Everything in my face had been shattered, and so because of that, I had to get intubated because I couldn't breathe on my own. And then I had to have a feeding tube because I couldn't, get my nutrients. I couldn't chew. And then my right arm was paralyzed for about 2 years or a year and a half because I had a brachial plexus injury. I had torn ligaments in my knee, aside from, my femur protruding out of my leg. So if life had a reset button, somehow I pressed it.
Wow, incredible. So you were hospitalized for quite some time then, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, I was hospitalized for about 3 months. I was in the ICU and in the hospital trying to get, stable and, starting my therapy to learn how to walk, stand on my own. And the worst thing was, I forgot to mention it in the injuries, was I was diagnosed with a severe brain injury. And I think that was the toughest part of everything, because I had a huge blow to my front lobe.
Mhm.
And so that kind of just the dam that held all the emotions at bay before the accident had kind of broken loose. And so all my emotions were haywire, and that really didn't help with my situation.
Okay, and was anybody else in the accident with you?
No, thankfully, I'd like to say it was just me. There was nobody else in the vehicle with me, so I was the one that received the full blow of the accident.
Oh, that's a blessing, I guess, but it sounds horrible. So how come? I mean, audio listeners won't be able to see the beautiful, handsome face that I'm looking at now. So you look perfect. Are you perfect now? Have all your bits and bobs got back together again?
Thank you. Basically, I mean, everything that's been medically needed, I've had over 23 surgeries. So, I've been through the ringer, as they say. So, but I'm kind of back to where I need to be. My right arm, I still can't physically, like raise it past 90 degrees, but I can move it, like it didn't have to get amputated, and that's a blessing. I've learned to deal with all the minor bumps on the road, a lot better. So I'm just grateful to be here. At the end of the day, I have every opportunity to still chase that light and lead a beautiful life. And I think that's what I focus and where my focus will remain.
Brilliant. You mentioned a reset button. So the day that you had the accident was kind of the beginning of the rest of your life. And people like myself who've recovered from stage 4 cancer, we feel the same. And these things that come to us, they're not you know, terrible shock horror things. Well, of course they are, but they're the beginning of a new way, because we're so grateful afterwards, aren't we, for everything, anything and everything that comes across us. You know, we see things in a different light.
Correct. And that's what I tell everybody. I'm like, my mentality and who I am never really changed, but definitely my perspective and my perspective on life. And so that's kind of why I was driven to write my book, because I wanted to help others people, you know, gain that perspective. Again, I don't think you have to be broken to understand brokenness. And I hope nobody has to go through a traumatic event as severe as what I did or what you did, you know, but I want to be that light to help kind of give that new perspective to most people, right? For me, I think there's like a bunch of things that no longer bother me, and a lot of things that I'm grateful for that I think most of us take for granted. You know, like the little things no longer bother me. I always use as an example, like whenever we go to a park, a store, and we can't find a parking spot next to the entrance, like most people get upset, get mad. But now me, I purposely park all the way in the back because I was so close to not being able to walk, not being able to, you know, breathe again. So I take that moment and I'm grateful. I breathe it in and I'm like, it's more therapy. I get to walk a little bit more. So, you know, I smile in those moments.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, a new perspective. I have a parking angel, and wherever I go, my grandchildren think I'm completely nuts, and they say it's impossible. Nobody has a parking angel. I say, well, explain how it is that I always get a parking space wherever I want to be. If I don't get a space where I want to be, it's because I need to be somewhere else, maybe to help somebody, you know, and that happens time and time again. And again, you know, it's the perspective, isn't it? And being grateful. So tell us about the book. It's called Chase the Light. Tell us about the perspective that you've written the book from.
Yeah, so I'll give you for most people who haven't seen the book, it's called Chase the Light, and the front cover I think has a lot, you know, that where we can take from. So most memoirs, because it's a memoir, but most memoirs are the cover is, you know, the author's image, right? Like their face or whatever. But for me, I spoke to my publicist. I told her I wanted it to be not so much distinctly just me, you know. That's why I wanted them to my story to be able to represent anybody, right? I speak in I say in my book, like my two trucks to the face could be your recent unemployment, you know, your recent illness. And so there's still a chance to live a beautiful life despite what you're going through or what you will be going through, you know, despite the trauma and scars. And so that's kind of what I wanted to get with my book. So I decided to use a silhouette, you know, to be a resemblance of me. And that's what there is on the front cover, you know, it's a silhouette of me, actually me throwing my crutches away. And but again, it's a silhouette, and that shadow could be you, you know, it could be anyone. And so that's why I wanted to title it Chase the Light, because for the longest time I was chasing the me of yesterday, you know, like the day before the accident. That's what I wanted to get back to, because I was in the best shape, the best position in my life, you know, up to that point. And now I had to start over again. So 24 years had passed, and now I had to start over again. So it was kind of unfair, but at the same time, I realized that I was looking at it wrong. I had to accept what happened, you know, stop chasing the past and focus on chasing the me of tomorrow, you know, of who I could be. And so that's why I wrote it, Chase the Light. For me, that light was my family. They never left me. They were there for me, you know, when I needed them most. And so I know most people don't really have close-knit family like I do. And so I kind of wanted to be that light for most people and let them know that they're not alone, you know, that people do go through tough situations. And again, the tagline, the gruesome art of becoming unbreakable, because I realized it is an art to it, you know, but it's by no means pretty. So it had to have gruesome, you know, because at the end of the day, if you get through all those, that whole stage, at the end, you do become unbreakable. And like I said, the little things that used to bother me or no longer, you know, matter to me. I'm appreciative of the little things.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. And I feel a sense of calmness all the time. People comment that in a crisis, I'm the calmest person around, apparently, because okay, what's the worst that can happen? You know,
Exactly.
and you know, keep things into perspective. You know, so that's a gift that we are I suppose we're given it, or I don't know if we're given it, or if it's something. It's like waking up to the light, isn't it? So
Exactly.
your future self. There's a lot of science at the moment being talked about, written about, and there's a particular inspirational speaker who's a friend of mine called Pete Cohen, and he's always talking about your future self. And if people could imagine their future self and meet their future self, but do it now, then you're going to have a happier, healthier life, because you're not stressing over the small things. You're imagining yourself in a future light. So that's kind of the what did you say the tagline was on Chase the Light? What's the tag?
It's Chase the Light, the gruesome art of becoming unbreakable.
Brilliant. The gruesome art of becoming unbreakable. I like that. That's cool. Really cool. So behind your picture, you've got something design. What's that all about?
Yeah. So I started a company, and this is actually my logo. It's not so much, my company's logo, but it's just my personal logo that I like to put on everything. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to put my logo, my initials on everything. So I have it in my office, and now I started a production company called Contento Productions, which is funny because contento means happy in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of, after everything that happened, I realized that there is, a chance to live a happy life. And so it all started from there. And I got big plans with that company. I have a lot of things on the books already. So I'm excited with everything that's happening. And, I'm glad I never stopped chasing.
Brilliant. And what is your company? Design in what area? You've got productions and you've got
Yeah.
designs. So tell us a bit more about that.
So it's production. So everything from any digital, so all the way from audio mixing. So there's audio, there's digital stuff, and marketing and branding. So graphic design is included in it, but also like audio and video production. Have all the equipment, and that includes. I really recently just did a wedding, and I had to, produce the video and everything. So that's part of my whole all my little skills and abilities I got going on. So I'm excited for everything that's coming.
Brilliant. And are you doing any acting?
I am. I recently just got done back. I got back into it in, I think, March, or was it February? But it was this year, and I just got back into doing I did a short film in Charleston, and that should be coming out soon. It's called Encounters. And now I have two more auditions coming up for big things for Disney. And I'm glad to be back in front of the camera. Because for the longest time while I was recovering, I was doing just voiceover stuff. So I'm the voiceover of a new video game character, which is exciting. But I'm glad to be back in front of the camera and helping bring a story to life. That was always my dream.
Brilliant. Brilliant. You're living your dream, chasing the light, well, and living the dream at the same time. Fabulous. Absolutely wonderful. How can people get hold of the book, Cesar?
Yeah, they can find the book anywhere online, any book retailer, Books a Million, Amazon. That's probably the best way to get it, Amazon, just because it's quicker. But they can find it anywhere. And there isn't an audiobook available yet, but I'm actually in the process of doing that with my publicist. So there will be an audiobook soon.
Brilliant. I will wait for that, because I devour audio books. I go through
Yeah.
so many of them while I'm tootling about doing other things. And your voice
Yeah.
is awesome. So I look forward to the audio version be available. I'll put it on my wish list as soon as I get off the call. So how do people contact you, or do we simply just give people well, what about your new company? Because there's lots of people that will be listening to this that might want to connect you for your new company.
Absolutely. So it'll be Contento, CONTENTOPROD.com, contentoprod.com. And they can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. My Instagram and Twitter handle are my first and last name. So CESARPEREZ, fit, FIT. So I've always been a fitness fanatic ever since I was little. So that's why the username, and it stuck. So yeah, you guys can find me on there, connect with me. I like to talk to people all the time. So feel free to hit me up. and I'll get back to you.
Brilliant. Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn. Yes,
Oh,
Cesar Perez.
okay. There's a couple of people I can think of to connect you with, so I'll hit you up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, please do. No, I'm always happy to meet new people and talk.
Brilliant. Fabulous. Lovely hearing about your story. Lovely that it's got a nice happy ending and lots of future chasing the light, and you're an inspiration to many. Thank you, Cesar.
No, thank you so much for having me and letting me, bring that light to everybody.
Marvelous. Bye for now.
Thank you.